Calc4Web converts Excel spreadsheets into C++ DLLs and Excel XLL add-ins. This means that the logic of the spreadsheet can be used outside of Excel or reused within Excel to make the spreadsheet much more powerful. Let's look at a very simple example. Here's a small spreadsheet that adds two numbers together. C4 is the sum of A4 plus B4. We want to create a function called myAdd that will add two numbers together, just like this spreadsheet does. But Excel doesn't have such a function, so right now it says #name. Now this is a very simplified version of what many spreadsheets look like, large and small. There are one or more cells that hold an input to a model, and there's a cell that holds the result of some calculations. In this spreadsheet, there are only 3 cells, but the same is true for spreadsheets with thousands of cells. There are cells used to drive the calculation, and there's the final result we are interested in. To use Calc4Web, we go into the configuration screen and specify which cells are the drivers or inputs to the model or function we want to create, and which cell or cells hold the result. We also need to give a name to our new function and tell Calc4Web what file to put it in. We start by saying we want to put the new function in a file called myAdd, and we also want to call the function myAdd. We tell it that the first input argument is what is in cell A4, and that this holds a floating point number. The allowable choices for the type of the input also includes an integer, a string, or a range. Then we tell Calc4Web the second input is in cell B4, and also a floating point number. Finally, we tell it that the result is in cell C4, which is also a number. After we specify those few things, we close this, and inside the spreadsheet click on the Calc4Web Builder button. It asks if we want to save the spreadsheet first, and then it goes to work on the status bar. You can see that it has already written the C++ code, and it is now compiling it and linking it into a DLL and Excel add-in. Let's now load the Excel add-in that was just created. We first load the spreadsheet again, and then we load myaddxll.xll. Now this still has a #name here, but if we now recalculate the cell with the formula equals myadd 5,6, the result of 11 is calculated, and we can add any pair of numbers that we like. We can also go into our favorite programming language and use this new function there as well, as you can see in the sample C code. C equals myadd a comma b, which will work the same way as if we had written myadd in C and we're using it inside the program. Of course, there's no reason to create something as simple as myadd unless you're creating a product for people who are missing the plus key on their keyboards. But since Calc4Web will work on any spreadsheet using any of Excel's 300 plus built-in functions, as well as other add-in functions, it can be used for much more powerful things than this. But the concept is always the same. By simply specifying the input cells and the output cells along with the name of the new function, Calc4Web will turn the spreadsheet logic into a function that can be called from inside Excel or outside Excel.